Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back for round 4 of RRL. You join us for the French Grand Prix. We've had 3 exciting rounds, interesting rounds to say the least. Of course, I missed last week, but I am Sweeney. I am back for round number 4 and what is hopefully going to be a very, very good Grand Prix. Of course, France is notorious in real life for not being the best show, but of course in 2021 we had a pretty damn decent one between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. Hopefully these guys here can give us a good enough race. 13 drivers on the grid, not the biggest turnout, but still definitely a good one. We've got promotions from Tier 2. We've got Bloofer and Solvent Sniffer who have been joining us for the last couple of races or so. So let's see how they get on with their races today. And of course, up in P2, we've got Prepared in the McLaren. There's also someone I've not seen before as well. So let's hope he can do well and that he's come prepared for a very good race today. So qualifying 18 minutes on the clock then. And we'll see how we get on. And with corner cut and on strict, it's going to be a bit more of a challenge for people today, and probably rightly so. I mean, France, it's on strict, it's not too rubbish. If you go off the track, you're more than likely to get a penalty, and if you're on the track, you're not going to get one. So it's a lot easier to steward a strict corner cutting, because it's easier to say if someone gets a rubbish penalty, they can report it and get it removed. But if it's on regular, you've got 20 drivers constantly cutting the track, it's inconsistent, and not everyone's going to report the person that comes in, so people will get away with it. So it's just a lot easier for straight corner cutting, and it's not actually that hard to stay on the track. So if you're a good enough driver, you can definitely do well enough to stay on the track for straight corner cutting. And a track like France, where runoff is pretty much in abundance, you're not really close to wall whenever you turn in for an apex. So you've got to be careful, you've got to be on it. But on board with Prepared then. In the McLaren, looking to impress on probably his debut. I mean, he might have been here before for Canada, but I wasn't here to tell. So nonetheless, hope everyone is enjoying the stream. Hope everyone's had an absolutely incredible day for Sunday. I've had a very action-packed, busy Sunday. Had, of course, the FSR Academy Championship to commentate on earlier. I had the APPF1 Sprint Series just a moment ago, literally about half an hour ago it finished, and now I'm here for RRL for the French Grand Prix. Round number 4, we're going to be on board with Prepared as he takes us for a lovely lap with almost no ERS. He's really burnt through a lot on his out lap, but he's coming towards turn 1. You're looking for just before that 50 ball, just before the curb starts again, down to 5th gear. If you can get it flat for turn 2, do it. Goes very wide and unfortunately invalidates to the first corner. We'll go on board with LB Lawson, the man who was a championship contender last season and is coming into this season hopefully going to do pretty well. We'll go on board with Corey, one of the quicker drivers in the league. Goes through turn 2 very wide on the exit. That's exactly what you want to do now through down towards turn number 3. You've really got to keep that run short into turn number 4. Brake at the 50 down to 4th, in towards turn 5. 3rd gear, roll it through. 2nd gear for turn number 6, and then turn 7, a very long right-hander. Purple to the first sector, run it all the way to the edge of the track, bring it right round, and then for turn 8, completely flat out, DRS open as you head down the Mulsanne straight and towards the chicane. And you're looking for the 100 board. If you can use the curb, use it. Opens up the corner, 4th gear, chuck it through. A little bit too much of a cut though, unfortunately. And Corey has invalidated his first run in qualifying, which is a shame for him because it was a decent one. So a shame for him. Both drivers in the top 2 have invalidated their first laps, and that's going to be a big challenge. It's a new feeling being on strict, because at France you can get away with quite a lot in terms of cutting on regular. So stay on the track, not that difficult. You can use quite a lot of curb here. So yeah, it's going to catch a lot of people out, I'm sure, but I'm sure they can manage. They should be good enough and ugly enough to do it. DRS open then for Taylor Hammers, again a very strong driver in of himself. Towards turn 1 himself. Can we actually get a full lap then of the Paul Ricard circuit into turn 2? Bit of a shaky exit as he goes over the curb, a little bit too much. The undulation change really unsettling the car. And then towards turn 4, braking at the 50, chucked it in. Very nicely done from Taylor there into the end of the first sector. LB a 30.2 for his first lap. Not the best, not the worst. There's JB goes into P1, a 30.057. Let's see what Taylor can do. He's purple to the first sector. And heading down the Mulsanne straight once more, DRS Open, that drag production system, extra 20 horsepower, 20 kph or so, down the back straight into the tight chicane of turn 9, 10 and 11. Very tidy for Taylor Hammers as he accelerates down the extra little bit of a straight you get before the very fast right-hander. Really got to chuck it in. Flat out, 190 miles an hour, probably pulling near to 4 or 5 Gs through that corner if you're in real life, and then towards a very tight turn 12 and 13, double apex, and he does a very good job of doing that in towards turn 14, gets it turned in pretty nicely, goes a little bit wide but just about gets it stopped. Now heading towards the penultimate corner, chucking it through. Really, you just got to be committed, chuck it in 4th gear, keep it tight to the left-hand side, brake when you're in a straight line, down to 2nd gear, roll it through, and accelerate on the exit. DRS Open, then shortest run to the line. It's been a pretty decent lap for Taylor, and he now comes across the line. It's going to be pole position, a 29.359, 7 tenths clear of the man in 2nd place, and I'm sure he can find a little bit more time in of himself as well. We'll go on board then. Only 3 drivers have set a time so far this session, so yeah, drivers need to get on it pretty damn quickly and set a time. We got Scott in. Scott's already in. Lewis, he's won his first Tier 2 race today. Very well done for you. And Swanky, hello. Scott's in and cheering him on. Corey out on track. We've got Jamie also coming out on track, renowned TikToker. So too is LB. We've got a couple of big TikTokers on here for the F1 community. That is, myself are on 1.3k followers or something like that. So if you are watching, go ahead, check it out. Zach Sweeney comms over on TikTok. Let's get ourselves to 2k hopefully. I think only about a week and a half ago I was at 200 followers, so definitely gone up quite quickly. But we'll go on board then. Corey closer to the line. And Vada is out lap, but doesn't matter. Bluefoot just goes about a 10th quicker for pole position in the Haas, and that's a very decent lap time for him. 29.234. Currently sees him on provisional pole position. Hopefully for him he can improve on his 2nd and 3rd lap, so he doesn't have to start the race on some pretty old tyres. But the Mercedes coming through then, the penultimate and final corner to start his 2nd attempt at a lap in these fresh soft compound tyres. Halfway through the session, roughly 10 minutes 50 seconds on the clock as he starts his lap. Corey, very quick, very clean, very aggressive driver in towards turn 1. He's going to give it his everything. 5th gear, 4th gear, roll it through, keep the foot planted if you can. Very nice through turn 1 and 2 in towards 3, the long left-hander where you just have to sort of shorten it, not really a corner, into turn 4, chuck it through, and then again down 2 gears to 3rd. Keep it as tight to that inside curb as you can, and then roll it through. Turn number 5, just keep it pinned and then keep the throttle going. Do not let the weight of the car shift too much. Purple to the first sector goes the Mercedes. Now down the Mulsanne straight, DRS wide open. 8th gear in excess of nearly 200 miles an hour. He's only halfway down. 201, 202, 203 as he slams on the anchors for 4th gear, rolling it through the turn 10 and 11 chicane. Straight line 11 as much as you possibly can, and then this little kink before you go up towards the fast right-hander. See, 190 miles an hour, keeping that minimum speed up. Very nicely done. Use the track on the exit. Look, just after the 50, you really have to carry that minimum speed all the way through the corner. Just chuck it through, use the track, and then bite it back for the 2nd apex. Now in towards this little left-hander, you go very wide in, and then have to tighten it up for the apex. Keep it tight for this long right-hander. Keep it close to the curve through the penultimate corner. Chuck it through 4th gear. Keep it tight. This has been a very good lap for the Mercedes. We should surely be aspiring for P1 at the very least. DRS Open for him then on the run to the line, which has been a bit extended in the recent game. 28.313 for Corey. Just under a 2nd quicker than Bluefoot in 2nd place. So a very good lap indeed. And we've got Tier 2 debutee Solvent Sniffer in the AlphaTauri. Don't know what solvents he's going to be sniffing, but let's see how well he can negotiate the track today. My first time commentating on him, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what he can do. And coming through to round off his outlap, T. Gregors goes into P2 at 28.727, so not the close qualifying we perhaps could have hoped for, but still a decent one nonetheless. There's a McLaren very wide. I think that is the McLaren of Kill the Crowd. Indeed it is, just letting him through, but Solvent Sniffer will go on board with him for a lap, see how he finds himself and establishes himself amongst the tier 1 guys. 10 people in the stream. Welcome in, guys. Do make sure to like the stream and come and join in the live chat. This is Solvent Sniffer trying to sniff his way through turn 1 and 2. Does that pretty well. The front nose of that car really finding its way pretty nicely through the long turn 3 and into 4. Looking pretty damn tidy indeed. 4th gear, carrying that speed through. Really committed and using that curve to its full effect. Again, trail braking 3, keeping it in 3rd gear. 21.8 to the first sector. Not bad at all. Should be up there at least in the top 3. And DRS Open then. Coming down this Mulsanne straight in already excess of 200 miles an hour. 203, 204. And he's gained a lot of time running quite high straight line speed then compared to Koru. And that might hurt him in the corners, but in the race, he's going to be very slippery down the straight. And that's going to help him quite a lot in defending his position if he needs it. Purple to the middle sector, 49.124. That's going to be aided by his straight line speed. 191, 190 through the fast right-hander. 192, 200 miles an hour as he slams on the anchors for turn 13 and 14, bringing it through very tidy. Keeps it in 5th to slam the throttle down. Crashed out in the worst way possible. Sorry, that's unfortunate for Luke. But at least he's got the autograph. That's the main thing. Both Alphas, in fact, do. Gonna sell it on eBay in probably 5 years' time. DRS Open, keeping it to the left. Shortest run to the line. 27, 28, 28, 7 for Solvent Sniffer. Just 1,000th of a second ahead of T. Gregor. So the second row separated by virtually nothing. LB into 2nd place on the front row. Less than a 10th off provisional pole position as it stands. Doing a very, very good job indeed. But Kiernan, a man you'd expect to be up there on the medium tyres with 6 minutes left to go. Going for a one-shot quali and going to look to start on those yellow walled mediums. He's a very quick driver, one you'd expect to be at the front end of qualifying. Of course, reigning champion coming into the new game. So let's see what he can do. It'll get you pole, definitely. But Kiernan now blitzing his way down towards turn 1. Let's see what the master can do. The reigning champion in towards turn 1, braking very nicely. Trail braking in 5th gear, rolling it all the way through turn 2 and keeping that power down. Left hand side of the track, in towards turn 4, gets it done nicely. 4th gear, 3rd gear, keep it tight to the inside. This is very tidy from him, and even if it's a little bit off, 22.0 on medium tyres. Definitely not purple, as Corey did go quicker, but medium tyres, that's a very respectable lap time. And now down the back straight once more, blitzing down 200, 2-1, 2-2, 2-3, 2-4, 2-5 as he slams on the anchors. So running very high, well, very low downforce for this straight, in fact. Down to 5th gear, 3rd gear, and then up to 4th as he goes slightly up the hill, as he's unfortunately invalidated through that chicane. But nonetheless, a good lap for Kiernan, and the pace definitely there on those mediums, despite being on the slower tyre. If you are new to Formula 1, of course, the soft is the red wall soft tyre, the one labelled with a letter S on the TV graphic. That's the fastest out-and-out tyre. However, the softer rubber degrades a lot faster. Then you've got the white walled hard tyre, which is slightly quicker, oh no, slightly slower, actually quite a lot slower, around about 7 or up to a second slower on some tracks. However, it can go very, very long into on a stint. So one you'll often see in the race, and then the medium, a nice in between, and one you might see in qualifying if the track conditions suit it, or if it's too hot, for example, and the medium and the softs overheat too much. You want to go for the mediums. That's something we saw back in 2020 with the Mercedes at Silverstone. Or you just want to start the race on the mediums. Again, if you are new to Formula 1, those in the top 10 have to start the race on the tyre they set their fastest lap in qualifying on. So if that's on a set of softs, you have to start the race on the same set of softs. If it's on a set of mediums, you're on the mediums and you're going longer for your first stint. So it could set you up for a better strategy. What's in and done for the first sector looked pretty good. And then through the little left-hander. Turn 7, 8. I always get lost at France. There's so many corners. Something like Austria or Silverstone, where it's actually named. Not a lot of corners at France are named, so you can't really... You have to depend a lot on the corner numbers. It's quite a lot. Especially if you don't know which they're actually classified as a corner. Sometimes the kinks aren't, sometimes they are, and God knows. But it goes through sector 2, very tidy so far. And then into the fast, long double apex right-hander. Really got to give it his all. Fourth gear, roll it through. Keeping that power pinch, you can see, really using the throttle control well to keep that car stable with the ballast and also just keep the turbo spinning. You don't want to get that turbo lag as you're trying to build up the boost. Keeps it going, and that allows the turbo to keep spinning. He's kept a lot of minimum speed for that corner into the final one on well, not exactly fresh medium tyres. And now across the line it's a 28.9, and P6 on the mediums will go on board with the McLaren, who's now starting his lap. Goes a little bit wide through turn 2, doesn't invalidate, and then all the way through turn 3. Kill the Crow. UK doing it very, very well into the first sector. Bit awkward with the gears into turn 5, but nonetheless keeps it pinned. 22.1 on softs, that's not bad at all. Definitely probably within the top 7. Now down the move sign, and it doesn't get a toe off the Williams, unfortunately, but yeah, the McLaren doing a great job. And let's see where you can put the car in qualifying. Around about 3 or so minutes left of this qualifying session, maybe 4. 2, in fact, 2 minutes left of this session. It's gone very quickly. Goes quite wide off the exit of turn 11. Doesn't invalidate, luckily for him. And he now rounds off sector number 2, a 49.769 to the middle sector. And now enters the final one. He's got a few more corners left to negotiate to set his first lap of qualifying. With Corey also out on a lap. Same too with LB. Those two very, very close on times. Heading out for their final runs in qualifying. We'll go on board with Corey in just a moment to see what he can do. Corey now ending the first sector. Kill the Crow now through the final couple of corners. Very nice trail braking into the final corner. Bit wide, misses the apex by quite a while. But DRS open, run to the line, keep it tight. And let's see what he can do. Where can he put the car? Can he beat his teammate across the line? Just about beats his teammate. 29.884 now jumping to the provisional pole sitter of Koru as he rounds into turn 10 and 11. Very tidily done. And then into the little kink where you really have to straight line it. Use that curb again through that little kink and down towards the fast right-hander. 3.3 tenths of a second up is Koru. That's 3 blinks of an eye, and that's a very hefty chunk of time. Could get himself into the 27s if he really pushes on this lap. Looking very, very mightily quick. Now down the gears, third gear, roll it through, fourth gear on the exit to get that power down. Koru on an absolute charge. LB also looking to improve upon his time. It's a straight dash for pole position between the two. Don't forget Taylor Hammers. He could also be one to look out for. Same too with Ben Finch and Solvent Sniffer. They get a good lap in, they could do very well. DRS open then for Koru. He rounds his final lap in qualifying on the softs. He's been a 3 tenths up. It's even more time gained in the final sector at 1:27.949 for Koru in the Mercedes. LB slightly up to the first sector. He needs to gain a little bit more in the middle and final. Very nice chicane. Uses up all the track limits possible. Now keeps it to the left hand side. How much has he gained to the middle sector? It's just about a 10th. So it's all to play for in the final sector. Really needs to send it on his final lap. Same too with Taylor and Ben Finch. But let's see. Right on board with LB to the end of the lap. Chucking it through. Really riding the brakes all the way through the corner. Keeping it tight. Use the camber to get the car turned through. And into the left-hander. Let's see what you can do. Third gear. Keep the car pinned under the brakes. Very nicely done. When you brake, all that weight goes to the front. That's really nice. For LB, can he improve enough though to find himself on pole position? Koru hasn't gone for another lap. So it's all down to LB to see what he can do. Can he improve? Can he secure second? DRS open on the run to the line. Qualifying is over. The checkered flag is out across the line. Is it fastest for him? No, it's a 28.229 for LB. 3 tenths off pole position. Taylor Hammers though is looking to improve. Ben Finch can't improve. He stays fourth. Solvent Sniffer neither can improve. Taylor Hammers a little bit down to the middle sector. Purple apparently. But how accurate that is, I'm not sure. He's got it all to gain in the middle in the final sector. Very wide through turn 13. That's really going to hinder his progress, unfortunately. And third could be the maximum for him. He needs 4 tenths in this final sector improvement. Goes very wide on the exit of there as well, and that's not going to help him one bit with LP. Rounding his lap, he's into the pit lane with... qualifying drawing to a close. Has been an exciting session. Very quick time from Corey, very dominant time. Can his teammate improve enough to knock LB off the front row across the line? He stays in P3, just off a 10th off his fastest time, unfortunately. So with 12 drivers now done and dusted with their qualifying times, we're getting ready and getting set to go to the grid. So 18 minutes then of qualifying, and it's Corey that sets a 1:27.949 ahead of LB in the Alpine, who will join him on the front row. Taylor Hammers in P3 with Ben Finch P4. Solvent Sniffer a good result in P5. Ben Finch though on the mediums, out qualifying his teammate Kiernan in P7, with Gregors in P6. Bluefoot in P8, his debut looking very, very strong. JB in P9 with Kill the Crow rounding off the top 10. Jamie and Prepared round off those that set a time in qualifying, with Luke unable to set a time. He's got it all to play for in the race, however. And still 27 laps. It's a long race. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Although WEC would probably argue that it is a sprint. But in Formula 1 standards, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You need to try and get himself all the way to the front of the pack. And that's what you want to do in a race. It's always good to finish first. So now clear skies still for the French Grand Prix here over Paul Ricard, so no wetness to spice things up. And we go green for the formation lap then, and a great start for Taylor Hammers. You might not realise that it is in fact the formation lap. Lap 0 of 27. We get a nice parade lap, you could say, of the track, was to warm up the tyres and get themselves warmed up, get those tyres warmed up most crucially. But those, yeah, everyone outside the top 10, all on the mediums going long. So he's going to bring us round his Koru. So he's got LB alongside him on the front row. It's going to be an interesting run towards turn 1 between the two, the Alpine and the Mercedes. Going to go side by side potentially if LB gets a good enough start. We'll have to see. So the both Mercedes have actually, you know, buggered off a little bit and got themselves quite a hefty lead on the formation lap, trying to warm up their tyres maybe a little bit, but they're going to be sat on the grid for quite a while, especially if LB backs off a little bit and doesn't wait up for him. Be an interesting one, certainly would be. So now everyone rounding themselves onto the grid, lining themselves up, getting themselves into their grid slots ahead of 27 laps of the French Grand Prix. Kill the Crow lining up in P10, Jamie P11, Prepared P12, and Luke rounding at the back of the grid in P13. 13 drivers on the grid. Koru leads from LB and Taylor P3, Ben Finch P4. The 1, 2, 3, 4 of our quickest drivers. We go to 5 red lights ahead of the French Grand Prix. 5 red lights for round number 4 of RRL is underway, and it's a great start from the Alpine already alongside over the outside for turn 1, but Koru does not get away well. He's trying to squeeze the Alpine all the way. 2 by 2 they go. The Williams trying to get around the outside of Taylor Hammers in towards turn 1. The Alpine trying it around the outside. It's the inside for turn 2, but the Mercedes stays ahead. There goes Taylor Hammers around the outside of the Alpine as well. Through turn 2, has to tuck in behind unfortunately and doesn't get the start he wanted. So it's Koru from LB and the Mercedes of Taylor Hammers behind the Alpine. Solvent Sniffer trying to get up his way up the inside around the outside of the Mercedes of Taylor Hammers, but he's got swamped, and that is Ben Finch behind Solvent Sniffer. The timing glitch has happened once again, but Solvent Sniffer a good start already up into P4, and Taylor Hammers having to defend off the podium. He finds the space to the inside, goes the AlphaTauri, gets his way up. Taylor Hammers doesn't defend well enough in towards the chicane for the first time. The AlphaTauri is ahead and on to the podium. So it's Corey from LB, Solvent Sniffer, Taylor Hammers and Ben Finch with Kiernan Williams 5-6. As we round off lap 1, Kill the Crow with a great first lap as well, looking to get past Kiernan, who defends into the fast right-hander. Predicted pit stop strategy, soft, medium, or a soft, medium. Either one could work. We'll have to see how the strategy plays out. But lap 1 is going to be drawn to a close very soon, and Corey and LB with a mighty fight all the way through. The McLaren gets a very nice run. Kiernan goes in deep. He's having to defend for the next left-hander. The McLaren with a soft compound tyre goes all the way around the outside, keeps him pinned. They're still side by side, and Kill the Crow from 10th on the grid is now fighting with P6. He goes around the outside, but the Williams is going to keep his foot in, accelerate through, still side by side into the final corner, but the McLaren edges his way ahead and up into the top 6 he goes, with Ben Finch now trying to fight, but Kiernan is going to try and come back at him to Kill the Crow, weaving all the way around the circuit to try and stay ahead. But Corey leads off the first lap. LB tucked in nicely behind Solvent Sniffer, trying to stay with him and trying to keep that pressure on. We'll see Gregor's getting a front row seat to Kill the Crow, and Kiernan having a mighty fight for P6. Ben Finch trying to find a way through on Taylor Hammers, who's had an absolutely abysmal start, trying to get the momentum off the start, but Ben Finch all over the back of him. He's going to have a nice tow down the Millstone straight in towards the chicane of turn 9 and 10. Down the straight, no DRS until next lap, of course, but we'll have to see how that plays out. LB closing. Is he closing enough to go for a move on Corey? Not quite, but he's going to be very, very close indeed in towards the chicane. Kiernan not quite able to launch an attack on Kill the Crow either, so it's all kicking off at the front side and amongst the midfield. Ben Finch putting that pressure on Taylor. He's got the run off the chicane. He pulls to the right-hand side in towards the fast right-hander, gets himself ahead and up into the top 4. Good start from the Williams driver. The AlphaTauri on the back of LB. The Mercedes trying to come back at him on those softs. Looking to the outside. Is he going to keep his foot in? Not quite able to. And has to suck in behind. But Kill the Crow and Kiernan putting that pressure on. Ben Finch now through the preceding left hand of the McLaren, trying his best. Solvent Sniffer, the first man to get a 3-second time penalty from multiple warnings. Probably first of many. It's lap 2 and he's already got a penalty. But Ben Finch sending his sights and trying to get his way up into the top 3. He's a very quick driver and a very capable driver at that, so he can definitely do it. On to lap 3. DRS has been enabled. Corey fastest lap. Solvent Sniffer just about beats it at 32.4. As we come on then, DRS will be enabled. Kiernan trying to get up the inside but can't quite do it. Bit of contact with Kill the Crow and he goes very wide. Bit of a shaken, bit of confidence perhaps with JB closing that gap maybe in the Ferrari to put the pressure on. Corey almost got a second lead over LB but not quite, so LB's going to have the DRS provided he stays within 1 second. The detection point is now, and he is going to have the aid of the drag reduction system down this back straight. Nice to see Jamie. Yeah, very true. He's still doing a great job. P13. It's not 14th, but nonetheless, yeah. LB still closing on Corey, who's got that virtual tow hook now to help him keep with the Mercedes in front. The midfield have sort of spread out a little bit now, with Ben Finch stretching his legs and Taylor Hammers pretty unable to stay with him. But LB, yeah, at the front, putting the pressure on. So too is Solvent Sniffer, looking to impress for his Tier 1 second race since being promoted from Tier 2, and getting his way in the mix amongst the big boys. LB and Corey, 2 championship contenders from last season, and coming into this season being very, very strong, especially Corey. Very clean, very aggressive, very consistent, probably one of the most here. But Solvent Sniffer gets a good run if he can. It's a 3-horse race at the front, but Ben Finch is on the alternate strategy. He could be one to look out for the race when LB goes fastest. They won 32.0, and he's closing, and he needs to put that pressure on Corey behind if he wants any chance of getting himself into the lead of the race. Oh mate, my voice is absolutely killing. I forgot to make a drink for this race as well, so I'm doing it completely alone, but I'll have one straight after. That's the Mercedes and Williams going side by side through turn 5 and into 6. He's just about managed to get himself ahead. Bit of contact between the two, and Kiernan edges his way ahead. Back to the front, LB, DRS enabled. He's closing. Is he closing enough to go for the move? Corey using up a lot of DRS. The Alpine's coming. He wants that home victory for the team. He looks to the inside, not quite close enough though, and has to think better of it. And Solvent Sniffer with a backwards momentum could launch an attack on LB. LB with a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Now Taylor hammers, putting the pressure on Kiernan. For P5, the Mercedes versus the Williams, the softs versus the mediums. And we jump back because LB is putting all the pressure on Corey, not quite able to do anything into turn 13. There's a space on the inside, but he thinks better than to stick his nose in a place where it doesn't belong. That's Solvent Sniffer's job, I think, to do so. Corey very wide, that could hinder his progress over the curb. Could unsettle the car a little bit and open the door for LB, both using up a lot of DRS on lap 4, as we now seal it off and start the 5th circle of the race. Tucked up nicely in the DRS. Corey doesn't know where to go. LB goes to the left-hand side, gets his way ahead before the corner, but Corey's going to try and come back at him, maybe towards the chicane at the end of the Mulsanne straight. We'll have to wait and see through turn 2. Corey's job is to just stick with him and put that pressure on. LB has used up a lot of VRS and could be vulnerable if Corey decides to push the button and go for a counter-attack. So too could Solvent Sniffer, and he's kept his way clean. He looks down the inside. That was a very desperate move, a very desperate lunge, but he just about manages to avoid contact. And now if he keeps it clean, he's going to have a nice run in the slipstream. LB going to use up a lot of DRS to try and defend this one. DRS open for Corey, who's going to be blitzing down this back straight, the Mulsanne straight towards the chicane. Is he going to be close enough? Not quite. He's going to look to the left-hand side, but he's not quite close enough, and is happy to just sit behind for the time being through turn 11. Straight lines the curb, and no, Corey's round, and he's in the wall, and that's damage to the front right, front left of the Mercedes car, and fighting for the race lead. Corey was bottled there, and he's now down to P5, now behind his teammate. So LB has a lot of pressure off his shoulders. Solvent Sniffer inherits P2, and Ben Finch into P3, making it a Williams 3-4, and that is a shame for Corey, who's now had to force his hand and could be on the back foot, maybe with some damage, not visible damage, but definitely could be some, and definitely a damaged ego for Corey, fighting for the race lead, and just got a bit caught up on the curb. Looks like he's struggling quite a bit. And could be struggling with a bit of damage. We'll see if he has to come into the pit lane and does so. So definitely struggling with damage. In he comes, and see what strategy he has to go on to try and recover from this race. Solvent Sniffer and LB then the front two. The Alpine versus the AlphaTauri. The Frenchies versus the Italians, in fact, AlphaTauri. Gregors with a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. And through turn 4 and 5 and then into 6. Let's see what Solvent Sniffer can do. He's got a little bit more ERS than LB to use at his disposal. Ben Finch not far behind either if they start to have a bit of a scrap. Then tucked up nice in the DRS. LB defends very early, weaving around like a snake, trying to break that slipstream. The hole in the air that he's punching for Solvent Sniffer, but he's being clever. He's not deploying his ERS, he's not wasting it, and he's happy to just sit behind and save and put that pressure on LB and hopefully maybe bait him into a mistake later down the line. We'll have to see further down the grid though. We've got Kill the Crow on the back of Jamie, goes way off the track to try and get that position. Jamie trying his best to stay in front, and does indeed stay in front. Corey onto the medium tyres, then we jump back to the fight then for the race lead. Solvent Sniffer all the way caught up to LB and all over the back of him, looking to seal the deal and get himself ahead and into the race lead after starting I believe 5th on the grid or 4th on the grid. So a good result. In fact, we can actually check with the position change. LB very wide, both of them coming into the pit lane. It was 5th on the grid for Solvent Sniffer, very close to contact in the pit lane, but not quite. Ben Finch then is going to stay out, making a Williams 1-2 ahead of Kiernan in the P number 2, provisional P4. But yeah, 3 cars into the pit lane. LB, Solvent Sniffer and Taylor all coming in. So in they come, strapping on the medium tyres, going for the 2-stop. Because there's no way they're going to get to the end. So Kiernan and Ben on a 1-stop. So too is prepared. So these guys, they're doing quite a good job if they can nurse these tyres. So too is Luke. Top 4 then on the 1-stop. Let's see how good they are at nursing those tyres and going to the hards after this stint. Could be an interesting one, because the 2-stoppers are going to have to really force those tyres and push them to the maximum. Corey getting himself up into P8. He's also going for a 2-stop solvent sniffer. Another 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, unfortunately for him. And Jamie F1 also with a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings also. So a lot of people getting penalties, getting caught out by the strict corner cut, and Kiernan manages to get himself into the lead, though Ben Finch going to come at him to the inside. The two Williams, really no team orders here at all. Going to run side by side towards turn 11. Ben Finch on the outside, going to try his best to get through. Kiernan, though, not backing out, forces his way back ahead to defend his position. And Ben Finch now on the back foot, needs to put that pressure on. I read medium hard and a 52%. It's going to be a close one then. We'll have to see how they get on. DRS open though for Ben Finch. He's going to try and launch that counter attack on his teammate. The two Williams not giving in one bit, and on the alternate strategy, need to work together. Ben on the outside trying to force his teammate into a poor line, but he's practically pushing him through turn 1 and 2, and through turn 3 into turn number 4, braking very nicely, 5th gear to try and maybe save some fuel, or just not utilise the engine braking. Luke into P4, yeah, doing a very good job indeed. And he's going to have DRS's Ben Finch to try and launch the counter attack on his teammate down the Mulsanne straight and towards the chicane. Corey goes fastest, so 31.623. Ben Finch closing at a rate of knots, pulls to the left hand side. Is he going to be able to send it under brakes? Down the gears he goes, 4th gear, gets himself back into the race lead, with Kiernan now having to tuck behind him. But if he gets a good launch, could launch the counter attack towards the fast right hander, does so. He gets a very good launch. The Williams is going to be running side by side now towards the fast right hander. Kiernan with a great run, gets himself back ahead of his teammate. These two absolutely not giving an inch, and absolutely identical on pace and DRS. Look, pretty much identical. Solvent sniffer, another 3-second penalty, so really losing a lot of time, and yeah, that's a shame for him. LB on the back of Luke, gets himself past Luke, who doesn't decide to fight that one too harsh through the fast right hander, just decides to run his own race. Ben Finch then still on the back of his teammate, who's pushing him through the final corner. DRS open then. Is he going to go for it towards turn 1? Going to be a very ambitious move to make. He's going to get a counter attack towards the chicane, so probably best if he just sits behind the Williams of Kiernan, defends. Ben to the right hand side. Is he going to sweep all the way around the outside? He tries, but tucks in behind his teammate as to not lose the DRS back down the straight towards the chicane of turn 9 and 10 and 11. Into turn 4, really chucking it in there, very nicely done, but prepared 17 seconds back. LB a further 18, or a further 1 and 18 seconds back on these two, with a yellow flag in sector 3. That's T. Greg is out of the session, could in fact be a safety car, and if it is, surely going to trigger some pit stops up and down the field, but I think that he's managed to get himself going, so no safety car. Ben Finch can't quite find a way through down the straight, and is happy to just sit behind and play the team game for the time being. But you bet, as soon as he sees an opportunity to get through, he's going to take it and try and seal the deal, get himself into the lead of the race. But Solvent Sniffer closing on Luke, pulls to the right hand side, gets himself ahead before the corner, and Luke not fighting this one too hard. He knows what his race is, and he's just trying to drive his own one, and doesn't want to get involved with the race leaders too much, and see where his strategy puts him. He could come back at him though. He's not got a lot of ERS to use. He's using it to stay with him, but if he can just stay in DRS, that should be perfect for him, with LB getting past prepared also up into the podium places once more. The two Williams still close as ever, still staying out on these medium tyres. Going to go probably to around about 15 maybe, maybe even a little bit less, maybe 13, 14, and then go to the hards. But we'll have to see how they get on into turn number 1, and once more approaching halfway through the French Grand Prix, through turn 2 on the exit, and then I guess you could count this as turn 3. I'm not sure really if it's counted as turn 3. Potentially this could be turn 3, but we'll go with it. LB fastest, a 31.545 for the Alpine, looking for home victory, but the Williams, the British outlet, trying their best to try and snatch that off them and bring home a British 1-2 and a British team at France. Closing, not closing enough though to go for the move into the chicane, so I think they've finally sorted themselves out and are going to work together to try and bring this one home. Solvent Sniffer on the back of prepared, could go for the move for P4. The AlphaTauri has been looking quick, but he's got a lot of penalties to his name, on the slipstream using his ERS, closing on the McLaren, pulls to the left-hand side and cleanly gets himself ahead and into the top 4 once again on his 2-stop, very aggressive 2-stop strategy. We'll see how it plays out for him. LB closing on the front 2, 16 seconds adrift. He's got a lot of time to catch up on those mediums if he wants any chance to win in this race. So at the moment, I would say it's favour to the 1-stop. Never say never. Could be a safety car that spices things up. Ben Finch into the pit lane. His teammate stays out, so Ben being proactive, going for the undercut to try and get his teammate with the fresher, harder tyres. Let's see what he can do. All the way at the end of the pit lane is the Williams pit box, so they're quite a far way down because they finished 10th in the Constructors' Championship. That's a new front wing, is it? No, just the tyres going on. And he's going to lose the position to LB and come out, I think, just behind this train of cars for P6. He doesn't want to be caught up in traffic. I don't think he will be. So yeah, force the hand of Kiernan to try and really push on this in-lap to not be undercut by his teammate. That's a McLaren round that's prepared, gone round, and was probably planning on coming in. He's very much managed to get himself back onto track by resetting. But his tyre's going to be looking worse for wear a little bit maybe. Ben Finch getting past Luke into turn 5 and stays ahead, so Luke really going backwards, but can't blame him because he's just driving his own race on those mediums, not really bothered about anyone else. On the hards though, Ben Finch looking mighty damn quick. But Kiernan and LB, the gap has really stayed the same, so LB not making the indents that he probably would have wanted onto Kiernan's lead, and the 2 Williams definitely going to be looking strong because they've got the pace, they've got the consistency, and they've got the strategy to do so. And is Kiernan going to pile his way into the pit lane? Indeed he is. In he comes to the pit lane here at France, the new pit lane installed for 2019. I believe it was halfway through 2019. With Taylor Hammers on the back of his teammate, the 2 Mercedes 6 and 7, after both of them having pretty unfortunate turns of events through spins or battles that see them a little bit worse for wear. Kiernan in though, and Taylor not quite able to get the jump on his teammate. Where is Kiernan now exiting the pit lane? Could be very close. I think Ben has managed to get the undercut, but there goes his teammate. They're going to be side by side on the exit, are they? The 2 Williams, but Ben gets himself ahead just over his teammate, and that was very, very fine margins. 5/10 between the 2, and Kiernan going to need to push his absolute hardest to find another way back through his teammate. But LB re-inherits the race lead then, but these 2 not far behind him because yeah, they managed to get the lead, and they're not, to be fair, too far behind. So LB needs an incredible final stint on his second set of medium tyres to really make sure that he gets those 2 Williams, because at the moment they're looking good for a 1-2, I'd say. Kill the Crow. A 3-second penalty. Both Williams, in fact, have also kept it clean all the way through. So without penalties, they're also looking pretty damn good. 2 Mercedes of Taylor and Koru. Very close together. They're trying to chase after Luke, who is yet to pit in this race. Hasn't done so. 11-lap old medium tyres he's on. And we'll go on board with the 2 Williams fighting over the net race lead after Solvent and LB come in for their second stop. And the 2 Williams hoping to bring home a 1-2. 12 of 27, approaching halfway through the French Grand Prix for round number 4 of RRL. Kill the Crowd on the back of Jamie. In fact, going up the inside of Jamie through the fast right-hander. It's the inside for the preceding right-hander. He's gone through, he's locked the rears, and he's backwards. Is he going to go into the wall? It's a big crash for the McLaren of Kill the Crowd, who bounces off the wall. Has he got any wing damage to the rear wing? That could be a very game-changing for his race if he does, but he had a very hefty crash, just completely backwards into the wall. Taylor gets through on Koru into turn 1, but Koru's coming back at him with a switcheroo through turn 2. Now gets himself back ahead. Jamie with a 5-second penalty for speeding, but the Mercedes of Taylor going to come back at his teammate around the outside. Bit of contact between the 2, but no damage done. Koru and Taylor then fighting over P6 and still trying to chase after Luke, but this battling not helping them one bit. Taylor now with the DRS is going to try and come back at him, so too is Kiernan on his teammate, not quite close enough into turn number 10 and 11. But down the inside looks Taylor, dives it down the inside. Corey gives him the space, but he stays in front does Corey kill the crowd though. Has DNF from the session. No full course yellow in effect. And he's just given up with this one, unfortunately. Has killed the crowd. So our first DNF of the session. Unfortunately. For kill because he was doing a great job up until that point. As it's Bluefoot gets a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. Corey has kept it clean, so too has Steve and both Williams cars of Ben and Kiernan. Through the final corner with Luke into the pit lane. His way through on those, finally coming in on those medium tyres to strap on probably some hards to the end. Should be fairly comfortable. But yeah, both Williams working together nicely, trying to catch LB, and I think in fact they've been, let me check the race director, I think they've been quicker. LB, his last 32.5, 32.2, 32.5. For Solvent Sniffer, 32.6, 32.7, 32.2. For Ben, it's a 32.1, 32.0, and a 35.5. That was his outlap. So they've been consistently running quicker than the two leaders and are closing down and on the one-stop strategy. So both Williams could be looking good for the rest of this race, but LB might just have to chance it and maybe take those mediums to the end, but we'll see how they get on. With Ben now on the back of Solvent Sniffer, who is yet to pit. They've called back a pit stop ahead. Looking to the inside, don't make any rash judgments. Committed to the inside, they're going to fill the space. Down the inside goes Ben. Solvent Sniffer still on the left-hand side. He's going to fight this one to the death. But the inside for turn number 14, not quite going to be able to get it done though. Fighting it all the way through. And they're still going to be side by side with the Williams, who's just going to edge his way ahead, but the AlphaTauri going to come back at him down the inside into the penultimate corner, but the Williams gets himself ahead and has now got a car between himself and his teammate, but surely Kiernan is going to try and get his way through. Solvent defends from another Williams, who this time pulls himself to the right hand side. The outside for turn 1 could run 3 abreast. He's going to have to back out of it because his teammate is there. He's going to try and go around the outside. The AlphaTauri deep into turn 1. The Williams going to go for a double switcheroo. Has to back off to not hit the back of him though, and this is helping Ben extend the gap and trying to get himself into the net race lead more comfortably ahead of his teammate of Kiernan. And Corey 7.6 seconds back on all this. If there is a safety car, Corey probably one of the favourites maybe to cut his way through the field. This is Kiernan now closing, pulls to the left hand side of the AlphaTauri and gets himself ahead. Corey though, first 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, couldn't go forever, and he got about himself just over halfway through the race by keeping it clean, and hopefully that's the last penalty for him to come. That's another McLaren that's prepared, going spinning round off the exit of turn 2 on that straight. In fact, how was he spun up on the straight? I'm not entirely sure. Maybe got over the curb and that unsettled the car a little bit. Koru and Taylor Hammers both very close as well. The Williams and Mercedes duos very close on track for P5 and 6 and for P2 and 3. Taylor really getting an A from his teammate Corey, who's arguably the quicker car, but Taylor just able to stay in DRS and put that pressure on and maybe use him as a bit of a tow to the front lot if he can. Kiernan now 1.1 seconds back on his teammate. He's going to need to try and push and get himself back into the DRS range to try and stay with him. That virtual tow, of course, is very powerful around a track with such a long straight, such as the Mulsanne here at Paul Ricard. Of course, in GT3 racing, they use the entire straight. They don't use the chicane in the middle. They just use the entire straight. Around about 260 something different layouts of Paul Ricard you can make, and in Formula 1 that'd be quite interesting if they used a different one each year. Maybe we might add some spice to it. Corey still leads the Mercedes charge. Ahead of Corey, but there's a yellow flag, or there was a yellow flag, and it was Bluefoot that was spun out and out of the race. Mercedes duo heading towards the fast right-hander. Kiernan back in within 1 second of his teammate, just about, but not by much. He's going to need to try and keep it there, but they are gaining on LB. varies ever so slightly. Now 12 laps left of this race, so it will be 11 as they cross the line. Lap 17 of 27 as LB now crosses the line. That is Solvent Sniffer into the pit lane for his second stop. He's going to go for mediums to the end. LB now surely going to come in very soon and let the two Williams take the reins at the front of the field, with Corey coming in as well. Going to try and stretch the gap to his teammate by coming in a little bit earlier. So Taylor stays out, going for some fresh medium tyres, and back out he goes. Or he doesn't go. There he goes. He glitches up the pit lane. But a good start for the Mercedes guys. 1 second between the two Williams. I think he was just about within the 1 second range, so we'll get the DRS assistance, or will he not? No, he won't. It looked as though it was loading for him, but maybe just about lost touch of it, unfortunately for him. Through the chicane up towards the fast right-hander, where you are pretty much flat out. Even in race spec it's easily flat. Goes to show the tremendous speed and downforce of Formula 1 cars that are able to pull, I think, 3 times or twice their body weight in aerodynamic downforce. But Luke having to defend because Corey's coming at him. He pulls to the right hand side. Luke not going to let him through easier this time, but Corey sails past on the right hand side to take P6 and soon to be maybe even P5 when Taylor comes into the pit lane. So a good result for Corey to recover after his spin, but definitely what could have been or what should have been, which was him fighting at the front with LB. Ben Finch and Kiernan, though they've been the strategy masterclass. These two probably the favourites to take the win. Kiernan very close to his teammate, in fact only 4 tenths between them. Taylor also into the pit lane. Yeah, the Williams duo definitely the standouts in terms of not only pace but also strategy. Through and through the right-hander. Oh, bit of a shake from Kiernan. That's going to halt his advance a little bit and maybe put his heart in his mouth. His teammate defends to the inside. Kiernan's not going to follow him. I think he's more interested in just sitting behind as opposed to wasting ERS. He's going to leave it maybe to the very last lap when Ben can't re-overtake him, but it's a risky business doing that, as you run the risk of missing your opportunity. But we'll see how these two get on. I think they're working together for the time being. But as soon as the win is in their sight, the win is in their grasp, they're going to fight for it and hopefully not take each other out, because that would not be the most ideal way to end the night, despite their pace and absolutely dominant fashion that they've been doing it in. What a battle it is indeed. But here's Taylor Hammers also getting his way past Luke, who doesn't fight this one too hard either, and up into P6 goes Taylor Hammers, 1.8 seconds back on his teammate. We'll have the fresh tyres to the end of the race. Lap 18 of 27, soon to be 19 as LB crosses the line. Still yet to pit. Is he stretching those tyres to the end? If he is, that is a remarkable job. I think maybe he's got nothing to lose, so might as well just go for it, because at the moment it's a given he's going to lose this race. At the moment it's only a chance. So we'll see how he gets on. Now 8 laps left to go. It's going to be 20 laps on those mediums. He's going to need to be saving those tyres so harsh, and also hope that these two behind get a penalty, otherwise he's going to be losing his track position anyway. So we'll see how he gets on. But the longer he leaves it, the less time he leaves himself to catch back up that time. Kiernan, though, closing on his teammate once more. Is Ben going to defend to the inside? Here comes the Williams, pulling to the left-hand side. It's the inside for the chicane. His teammate just lets him through, does not fight that one at all too hardly. And Ben is happy to just sit behind and chill behind, being the front Williams for so long. He wants to save a bit of ERS, but he gets himself a 3-second time penalty in the process from multiple warnings. So advantage Kiernan at the moment for the race win. So at the moment, unless Kiernan gets himself a penalty, the only driver left on the grid to not get one. He's the only driver to have kept it clean. Let's in fact have a look at how many warnings Kiernan has got and how close he is to getting one. He's on 2. Whether those are for track limits or for contact, we don't know. We can only assume that he's got 2. And then his next one is going to be his penalty, but LB into the pit lane then. He's going for some soft compound tyres to the end of the race. And he's going to come out probably around, yeah, comfortably in P3. So he's just going to try and push it all the way to the end. And see if he can catch any glimpse of a P2. He's got 8 laps left to do it. And he's going to need probably about 2 seconds a lap at the very least, maybe even 3. So here is Ben Finch lining up the move. Corey goes fastest once more, 30.8. But Ben Finch is closing. Pulls to the left-hand side. Is going to look to get himself ahead back into the chicane. And Kiernan doesn't fight that one too harshly at all. So the two Williams swapping places and working together nicely. Kiernan, a 3-second penalty. So it's now level pegging at the front between the two. And now, well, it's a straight fight. Ben on the brink of fuel, though. You can see flashing between the yellow and the green. Kiernan going to come at him. Looks to the inside for the fast right hand of the double apex one. But thinks to back out of that one and think better of it. Into this long left-hander. Very awkwardly, and oh, that's a big slide for Ben. That's really going to put him on the back foot. Now Kiernan looking to the left-hand side for the penultimate corner. They're going to run side by side, and ahead goes Kiernan. So Ben Finch having to tuck behind and maybe go for the DRS overtake. He plays the long game and thinks better of it. Thank you, Lewis. It's a pleasure to hear that. And to the right-hand side goes Ben. Once more, the two Williams fighting for the race lead now in the final stages. Ben gets it done. Kiernan backs off for that one, thinking of the DRS back down the Mulsanne straight. Still in the lower fuel for Ben. He's really underfueled this car, thinking that he could save a bit, and he has saved a bit, but maybe sitting a slipstream for a while. He's very much on the brink of fuel. 4 tenths separate the two teammates then as we're on lap 21 of 27 of the round number 4 French Grand Prix for RRL. What has been a very close and competitive season so far. Kiernan and Ben Finch still fighting for the race lead. Kiernan closing once more. Pulls to the left hand side again, ahead before the corner. So these two Williams guys not fighting it too hard and just working together more than anything to extend the gap, as Solvent Sniffer has managed to get himself ahead of LB, who may have just waited up to have a bit of a fight. I think that could be the case. Or in fact he looks like he's got damage. He had to lift through there and he's lost quite a chunk of his front wing, has he? Doesn't look like he has, which is a weird one. Back to the front fight though. Ben looking to the inside of Kiernan, doesn't think to go for it. Still needs to conserve his ERS though, and his fuel most importantly. ERS you can still finish without, but fuel, you kind of do need that to run a Formula 1 car. While it's a very efficient engines and very efficient fuel, you still do quite need it. About 50 litres probably go into or 50 kilos worth of fuel go into these cars for 50% races, and about 104 go in for the 100%. And they do it in kilograms, not litres, because volume can change depending on heat, so they do it based on weight instead of volume. Unlucky for Callum. You need to get used to traction. Well, you'll get there. The best thing to do is practice, and you will always make mistakes along the way. That's part of racing. Solvent Sniffer under pressure from LB, pulling to the left-hand side. The AlphaTauri and Alpine going to run side by side once more. The AlphaTauri on the outside, having to tuck in behind, but Ben Finch has spun, and he's out of the race. What has happened to Ben? Oh, it's a full course safety car. Late drama in this race, and Ben has gone round one of the favourites to take the win. The Williams duo looks so comfortable for a race victory, and Ben has thrown it away. Oh no, what has happened? It was on the exit of turn number 8, I think. But what drama. Ben is out of this race, and a safety car, late safety car, is going to trigger a lot of pit stops. Cora has been brought right back into this one. This is incredible stuff. Kiernan surely coming in for some softs to the end of the race. So too should be Koru. But oh wow. What a way to throw a bit of spice into this one. Ben Finch out of the French Grand Prix. Favourite to win potentially with his teammate. At least for a Williams 1-2. But he's thrown it away, and it's going to be unclassified for Ben. Kiernan into the pit lane for a free soft pit stop. He'll still come out in front. And surely LB and Solvent Sniffer will come in as well for softs for the final sprint to the finish line. But wow. Wow, wow, wow. What drama. What drama indeed. LB comes in, Solomon Sniffer follows him. Is Corey also going to come in? Surely. I mean, he could take a risk, in fact, and just stay out. He's going to stay out. He's taking the risk. He's going to go for the race, or not the race lead, but P2. He's staying out. He's confident on those mediums. He's going to go for P2. This is an interesting strategy from Corey. He's definitely got the pace, but he's going to inherit P2. So an interesting one to say the least for Corey. But oof, this is it's a spicy fight. It's going to be a good one to the end, I'm sure. With Kiernan in P1, Corey P2, LB P3 with Solomon Sniffer P4, Taylor your P5 man, Luke now coming in, Steve quite a far back. It's been quite a spread field, in fact. But we're now under safety car, so go get your cup of tea. Race is on pause for a while they all bunch up behind Berg Mylander in the Mercedes AMG safety car. But yeah, go get your cup of tea, go get your biscuits, whatever it might be. We'll be back in a second. Well, still under the safety car period then, and it is Kiernan that will lead the way. Surely the favourite to win on those fresh softs, but never say never. His teammate crashed, so too could he. So it's going to be a tight one to the end of the race, I'm sure, between the two. Of Corey, LB, Solomon Sniffer, all four of them. I'm going to fight this one quite hard. Don't count out Taylor Hammers either. He's also one that could be in the mix. Lap 24 of 27, very, very close to the end of the finish line, to the finish line now, I should say. And it's been a very, very dramatic race. So, should be in this lap, provided that I think Jamie at the back catches himself up before the 3 time in line. Should be in this lap, and he shouldn't have too much trouble in catching up. Is safety car in this lap? Surely you would have told us by now. It might just be one lap. No, it is in this lap. So Kiernan will become the effective safety car with the safety car in this lap. He can control the field and back everyone up, warm up those tyres and get prepared for the final sprint to the finish. 3 laps then before the finish lap. It will be lap 25, 26 and 27. DRS to be enabled on the final lap, prepared with a 5-second penalty, a severe collision with Jamie F1. So 3 seconds for the top 3, 12 for Solomon Sniffer, 11 for Taylor, 6, 3, 17, 20 and 3. So a lot of penalties up and down, but the top 3 keeping it the cleanest with 3 seconds each. So definitely all to play for in this race. Kiernan backing everybody up, getting ready to go. Really trying his best Just getting those tyres into a nice temperature window. He's got between now and the timing line to punch it. When will he? When will we be back under green flag racing for the final sprint towards the finish line? And we're back under green flag racing. It's a great restart from Kiernan, who gets the jump over Koru. LB looking to get past as well. He's in the slipstream. He's closing. He's got the soft compound tyre to try and go to the inside. Not quite going to be close enough. Looks, but doesn't commit. Solvent Sniffer in the background as well, trying to find a way through. But Kiernan leads from Koru, LB and Solvent Sniffer. But who's that off? That's Koru off once more, and he's spun off, and he's just about managed to avoid the wall. But he's off and into nearly the barrier and down into P8, fighting with the ghosted Aston Martin of T. Gregor. So Koru really had a nightmare off that restart. Cold tyres, whatever it might have been on those mediums. But he's now out of contention. Taylor Hammer's now on the back of Solvent Sniffer, looking good for a podium place. LB with a 6-second penalty now equated to, and Kiernan comfortably leads 1.5 seconds ahead of LB. 3/10 back is Solvent Sniffer, but he's got a ton of penalties. Taylor going very deep into the chicane and having to bring it back, and he's lost a lot of time because of it. But 3-second time penalty again for Solvent Sniffer, who is all over the back of LB, going for the on-track pride of getting that P2. Goes for the switcheroo, not quite going to be able to go for it into turn 13. On the back of him, Kiernan comfortably leads and looks favourite to win. Should be a pretty easy affair for him, but we never know what might happen. Koru now still on the back foot, but will gain a couple of places because of those penalties. Kiernan fastest then, a 1:29.576 off the restart, looking very, very good, very quick on those fresh softs, and will probably go even quicker this lap as well. Unlucky Koru and Ben, definitely so, but it was probably an incident of their own making, so that's a shame for them. You make your own luck, but you also make your own bad luck in Formula 1. Yes, you've got engine failures and DRS failures and ERS faults and what have you, but you need to be consistent, and unfortunately for those guys, they just didn't quite have it today. But no mistakes all throughout the race for Ben, and Koru had the pace, just couldn't quite keep those tyres in a good enough window to keep them grippy enough to stay in front. Otherwise he would look good for a P2 at the very least, maybe even at the P3, P4 maybe. But definitely looked good enough, and he kept it clean. In terms of penalties, now onto the penultimate lap of this race, about 1.5 laps left of the French Grand Prix. Kiernan from LB, Solvent Sniffer and Taylor your top 4, with Luke into the top 5 after a pretty damn good restart for him. But a pretty dismal day for both Ferraris, 8th and 9th for the two TikTokers of JB and Jamie, and LB for F1 Rants, flying the flag high for the TikTokers. Into the final corner then for the penultimate time. We had ourselves on to the final lap of the race, lap 27 of 27. We've had drama all throughout, and now it comes down to this. DRS has been enabled though, so Solvent Sniffer's going to try and close the gap. So too is Luke on the back of Taylor Hammers. Now we've got equal pegging in terms of tyres, going very deep into turn 1 though. That's really going to hurt his advance, and he's spun round, and oh no, big carnage for Luke as he spins off, and he might even be stuck on the curb through turn 2. Very, very bad way to end the race for him. He would have wanted to go to the flag and could even have looked good for a P4 had he kept it clean, but it's a shame for him. Solvent Sniffer now, last attack for him. DRS open as he closes on LB. Can the AlphaTauri get himself into P2, even if it's provisionally and won't be after penalties? LB defends, the AlphaTauri goes to the outside. Can he get it done? He swoops all the way around the outside. It's the inside for the second part of the chicane. Now running side by side. LB still keeping him honest and goes defensive to the next part of the right hand side. Solvent Sniffer all the way, tucked up nicely, but trying his best to get the gap, and unfortunately can't quite find the gap to squeeze his car through. Looking to the inside, goes for it, but quite scares LB offline and gets a massive snap himself, and that really hurt his advance, and that's probably his chances at a P2 provisionally over. But Kiernan, very good race. He played the alternate strategy well, made the most of the safety car, controlled the pack from the restart, and even though his teammate couldn't make it a Williams 1-2, he had a great old scrap with him all the way through. He comes across the line, he weaves his way across the line. Kiernan wins round number 4, the French Grand Prix for Williams, with LB a home second place with Solomon Sniffer P3, but it will be Taylor that inherits that post race. Same too with Koru across the line, takes P3 after penalties. So even though he's had 2 spins, a podium is still the best he can get. 3rd and 4th for Mercedes at the death of it, with Steve and Luke P7 prepared, P8 with Jamie in P9, and T. Gregors now across the line finishes the points pairing positions in P10. P11, 12 and 13 all unable to finish. But a great race up and down the field, very clean racing, and Strict definitely working a lot better in terms of clean racing and people keeping it on the track. Yeah, 28 laps in the books, and we're still waiting for Jamie to cross the line because he was quite far back and yeah, still waiting for him to cross the line. He's got one more corner. As he does now cross the line to finish P9 for the Ferrari, so 8th, 9th for Ferrari. Not a bad result, but they could have asked for more. Kiernan, driver of the day for Williams. A great result for him, starting I think P6 for Williams. Not the best qualifying on the mediums, but made the alternate strategy work and accelerates on the podium alone. And flying the British flag high for both Williams and himself. He gets the win and the fastest lap ahead of LB and Koru, who joined him on the podium. The Alpine and Mercedes driving both very good races and having a good scrap at the start. Taylor Hammers in P4 with Solvent Sniffer P5. JB in P6 with Luke P7 prepared in P8. Jamie in P9 with T. Gresgold rounding off the top 10 and the finishers with Ben Finch. A very heartbreaking end, a very heartbreaking premature end to his French Grand Prix campaign. Could have been a race win, but in Formula 1 you can never count on the could have, should have or would have. It's what you can do in the moment. Bluefoot and Kill the Crow round off the grid for what has been a very, very action-packed French Grand Prix. And I certainly cannot wait for next week for round 5. The action continues. I'll be in the commentary box. Hopefully not by myself. Hopefully we can find someone to join us. Hopefully Ollie soon buys the game. But if I am, I'll be Zach Sweeney. And I have been Zach Sweeney. And this has been RRL. It's been round number 4, the French Grand Prix. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I'll catch you next time, guys. Bye-bye.